what happens more often than not, especially where I live, is that we have created this, kind of a hub in the Midwest where people know that, where we live, we have a great scene for the hospitality, for the drinks, for the food. And, myself included, we have, great chefs, great bartenders now that live in the area. And those new up and coming bartenders are coming in saying, hey, we want to work with you. We want to learn what you know, and be able to, make great drinks as well.
Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Network and Bartender Spirits Awards. We are live from Bartender Spirits Awards Day 1 in San Francisco. I have Raj Shukla with me here. He's one of the finest bartenders and mixologists out there. He recently was featured in Netflix Drinks Master Show, and he's judging here at the Bartender Spirits Awards. Raj, thanks for joining me here.
My pleasure. Yeah.
We're going to chat about, one interesting thing that we were just chatting about, which is like, how are you personally elevating the cocktail scene in mid-tier cities, based on the experience that you have, based on the network that you've created, and a lot of traveling lately, I'm sure you've done, right? So you have a lot of ideas as well going on. So let's take this as a great example of how our mid-tier cities in US especially, small bartenders or mixologists that can't afford really big mixology equipments and things of that nature can start elevating the cocktail scene. What's your theory? What are you doing?
So, being based in Fort Wayne, it's a, smaller, big city in the Midwest. It's got a great culinary scene going on right now, which I feel like a lot of people are gravitating more towards, like, quality over quantity. A lot of people want their meat and potatoes, but they're actually getting more adventurous with, like, beverages and flavor pairings and things like that. So right now, we've been growing there in the city for the last maybe 10 years or so, growing trends and, getting more on board with, fun flavors and exotic, vegetables and fruits and cocktails and things. So it's really exciting to be a part of that right now. We're pretty closely adjacent to big metropolitan cities like Chicago and Detroit and Indianapolis, but I really feel like the time is coming where now people are getting more outside of their comfort zone and willing to try new things. So with that, being a bartender myself and having the palate that I have and the things I've gotten to try, it's exciting to bring drinks that are approachable, but still, pushing the envelope and pushing the boundaries for, the common consumer. You'll always have that anywhere you go. People, will stick to the flavors and the drinks that they're used to, whether it be a classic old fashioned Manhattan, whatever. But when you start talking about, weird, funky, cool Amaros and rums and, foreign spirits from other countries and states and other cultures, that's where it gets really exciting. So I'm really happy to be able to share those things with, my hometown and where I live and, grow from there.
So what are the challenges that you normally face in small towns? Right? One of the things that comes to my mind is finding great bartenders who may know a little bit of more mixology and come to work from New York or LA to small towns.
I think that's a beautiful question. So I think what happens more often than not, especially where I live, is that we have created this kind of a hub in the Midwest where people know that where we live, we have a great scene for the hospitality, for the drinks, for the food. And myself included, we have great chefs, great bartenders now that live in the area. And those new up and coming bartenders are coming in saying, hey, we want to work with you. We want to learn what you know, and be able to, make great drinks as well. Obviously, what I do isn't all about the liquid I put into a glass. It's more about, the personality, the hospitality. Yes, you need to make a good balanced drink, but I think that's a challenge right now, is getting, people that want to come in to this industry, which I've been a part of most of my life. I love it. Probably be in it for the rest of my life, which is fine for me, but it's not always the prettiest, job to be in, just because it's, long days, long hours, late nights. It can be quite demanding of your time and of your personal life. So I just, really wish people give it a chance. And, things have changed. It's not like it used to be, back in the 80s and 90s where it was just like speed bar and cocktails and Tom Cruise. People are putting more thought and care and passion into the craft that we're providing to guests when they come in. And people are seeing that, people are getting to see that, hey, it's okay to be able to spend $10, $12 on a cocktail, when before, they weren't spending as much. And I think that's still an issue in my neck of the woods, let's say in the Midwest, where, cost of living is really great. Wages might not, be as high as some of the bigger metros, Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco, but it all, is on that sliding scale, right? I know sometimes the issue can be, you come into a nice cocktail bar, the glassware is beautiful, the ice is clear and handcrafted most of the time. The spirit selection is really top notch. And then you get your drink and you see the menu, you're like, oh, that's an $18 cocktail. And some people just can't go out and do that. And I understand that. So for me, it's about finding that happy medium, that balance of, hey, this is a superb, balanced tasting cocktail. It looks appealing. It's three-dimensional, and it's definitely worth the time to come out.
A couple of things that come to my mind is when you're elevating small cities drink scene, do you guys have you ever chatted with other 10 bar owners or bar managers or just brainstorming, let's do some festival or drinks week, or are you involved in those kind of things, just let's come up with a city, involve the city council as well, or are those conversations happening at all if there was a mission to lift the drinks scene of a city?
I think it definitely is happening. Yeah, I do know, so especially where I live, we have a lot of summer festivals that happen downtown, which is the best place to kind of meet and hang out, where there's street vendors and a whole festival based around one, common theme, right? So we have a really cool thing where we recognize different cultures. So there's a German fest, a Greek fest, which is a whole week long of German food, German drinks, German dancing, all this stuff. And it's really cool. But as far as food and drink festivals, I think they're happening more on the smaller scale, which is really cool. Like I said, we have some really amazing chefs and drink creators where I live. And a lot of the time, the way we're getting the word out with that is more smaller, intimate pop-ups. So really it's about, getting like-minded chefs and bartenders together to have a small pop-up at, someone's restaurant or someone's location downtown. And those have been doing great. People get together, they know what they're going to expect. They see a menu, it's curated, the drinks look great, the food is fantastic. And getting, chefs and bartenders from other parts of the city and other parts of the state is important as well, I think. I try to not always look at it from a very micro level, but thinking more the forest from the trees, right? Everyone that I work with are peers of mine. I don't look down on anyone. If anything, I want them to all be on the same team and work together because we're all in the same industry, we're all in the same business, right? So it's very important to stick together.
On your journey and your experience on the Master Show,
yeah.
Right? Give us a little some meat where what were the 5 or 6 questions they asked you in an interview or before saying yes, finally yes, or how did that process work?
Back in 2021, I was one of the top 5 bartenders in the nation through the USBG and the World Class competition. Shortly after the national finals, they reached out to me and thought that I'd be a great fit for the show. So there was definitely some interview processes going on, some online video meetings, some demonstrations of just making some drinks and showing off some of my talents and showing off some things that I can do that were on that upper echelon of cocktail creation. The reality really is that most common bars you go to that have great drinks and a great service and hospitality, they're not all using liquid nitrogen and dry ice and making caviar and pearls and spherification and all these cool jellies and foams and stuff. It takes a lot of work to do that stuff.
So did you have to buy a lot of stuff and then practice at your home?
I knew how to do some of those things for sure. I had to brush up on some of my knowledge, obviously, just because we're not using that on the day-to-day. But I mean, those are just little enhancements that I think can really elevate a drink and a plate to the next level. But that doesn't mean that it can't be done day in and day out. But at the same time, it's prep intensive. You really have to have the prep space, the time, and understand that, hey, how can I execute these over-the-top, fun, scientific techniques at a high level and efficiently? It's just like anything else. People are impatient. They don't want to wait 25 minutes for a drink with dry ice and things like that. And the bars that do a great job at that. But it's not something that you're going to go to your local pub, your local watering hole and get, which is fine. So it's definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit, which I thought was great. Because even as a bartender, I'm constantly learning.
Has it helped your business? Do people recognize and now say, have you monetized it in a way that your current experience is now adding value to the business?
I would say so. I would definitely say so. Yeah. But more often than not, when I get hired by a client that wants me to do something with them or work on a project, it's usually not the gastronomy kind of cocktail elevation. It's more about, hey, we want to know how to make great cocktails.
Still a bartender hat.
Yeah, still a bartender hat and still doing that, which is awesome. I mean, I've been fortunate to be approached by some professional sports teams and players and NFL players to do some events for them and do cocktail classes and partner up on some projects, which has been really special. So it's really fun. I mean, it's definitely kept the doors open.
What are 2 or 3 crazy gigs that have come?
Yeah, so I've definitely gotten to go back. I worked with the PGA Tour this past year for the second time. So after the show came out, I got a phone call and they were saying, hey, we know you came last year and worked for us, but we would love to have you back again at the Players Tournament down in Jacksonville, Florida. And that's always a great event to do that. I got to go do the Charleston Food and Wine Festival for my first time, and I got to do a cool pop-up at a new Pakistani restaurant that's opening up in Charleston this week actually, and they do a great job. Their food was amazing. We had a guest chef from Asheville, North Carolina come out. So that was really good. Yeah, I mean, the opportunities have been coming in, which is fantastic. Keeps me busy, keeps me traveling, which I'd love to do. But yeah, eventually my goal is to eventually have my own spot somewhere downtown in Fort Wayne where I live, where it's the bar that I would want to go to. You know, I definitely love taking care of people and, you know, the neighbors and the community in my town where I live. It's great, but I've always had the dream of just, you know, make the spot that you would want to go to. You know, if you had to go to a bar 3 nights a week, this is where I want to be at. That's what I want to make for myself and for, you know, my community.
One last one. What is that bar? Like, how would you describe the bar that you want to go to?
It's a bar where you can come in and there'll be no one's pretentious. It's just good people, small plates, easy food, and great drinks. You know, you can come in as you are, have a good time, and we're open late. We'll have food. We'll have some fun things going on behind the bar. You know, a lot of us in our positions take our jobs very seriously. I know people sometimes think the bartender is just the college kid making a few extra bucks or it's their part-time job. But, you know, I do take what I do very seriously, but it's also so important to remember you can't take it too seriously. Yeah. What we do is fun. You know, bartending should be fun. And when you come to my spot, it's going to be a good time. You know, if you want to be, you know, left alone and just have your drink and, you know, sit and eat by yourself quietly, go for it. But if you want to have fun, we'll have fun with you too.